Hey everyone, welcome back to 996 The Howl. This season is over at 82 games. This season went by in a whirlwind. Unbelievable stuff for the first inaugural season for the Utah Hockey Club. As always, we will compare the team to itself in the past, not comparing itself to other teams now. That's what you should do in life. See how much you've grown over a span of time. The season ends with Utah getting 38 wins, 31 regulation losses, and 13 overtime shootout losses. These little blue numbers here, they might change by one or two standing points. There's still hockey being played in the last two games of the season after Utah's season is finished. Last year they finished 36, 41, and 5. Now you might hear some people, some trolls, maybe some haters saying, oh, they only won two more games more than last year. But 41 regulation losses last season to 31 this season. And if you look at pretty much all the numbers, this team has improved tremendously and the rebuild is on track. I will have a rebuild video coming soon just to see how the team has improved year over year. And we might be finally, and we probably are entering the playoff phase of this rebuild. So let's get into the nitty gritty, the stats. The points percentage, 0.543 is the highest for Andre Tourigny in a season. This is his fourth year coaching. Last year, they're at 0.470 points percentage. Goals for, pretty much the department that decreased from last season at 2.94, good for 19th in the league. Last year it was above 3, which is what you want at 3.10. We will go into the specifics as to why the goals for per game is lower this year when we get to the players section of the review, but it's pretty much that depth scoring wasn't there as it was last season. Then we go to goals against per game at 3.06. That last game, number 82 against St. Louis, definitely didn't help here. It jumps just slightly over 3 goals against per game. It's still down from last season where it was at 3.34 goals against per game. The power play, unbelievable stuff. Top 10 in the league at 24.2%, up from 21.99%. This power play has been steadily increasing from game 1 all the way to game 82. They even kept it going even more near the end of this season. They scored 4 power play goals on 4 attempts against the Dallas Stars. I believe that was game 80 or 79 of the season. Pretty sure it was game number 80. Loving the power play. For me, moving forward, we need a bona fide power play number 2. The power play number 1 unit this season carried it all season. Maybe near the end here, power play number 2 got it going with Cooley, Doan, and Dursey helping power play number 2 get some goals. But moving forward, those 3 guys need some help on that second unit. The penalty kill was doing great, sort of dipped a little bit near the end of the season, but around December they changed their penalty kill formation from a box to a diamond, and it started out pretty bad at 76% at game number 20, and then it's up to 79.3. Their highest penalty kill throughout this season was 81.76%, and that was at game number 50. So it sort of dipped after that, but it was hovering around 80 pretty much the last half of the season. Then we go to save percentage. Even though Vejmelka's numbers are amazing, the team save percentage did take a hit this season. Pretty much the only reliable, consistent goalie who was putting up great numbers was Vejmelka. Obviously, there were some off-ice issues for Ingram. A really tough season for Ingram, so not going to harp on him too much. But yes, another category that's slightly down from last season. I expect that save percentage number for the team to increase next season just by default, and we'll get into the Ingram situation a little bit later. Shooting percentage way down. This was the lowest shooting percentage for Andre Tourigny in his 4 seasons as being a head coach in the NHL. There's no real analytics to say why their shooting percentage was lower. It's just finishing. Maybe last season at 11.2 was unsustainable. League average is around 10%, so they're doing an average job in terms of shooting percentage. But yes, definitely finishing was another issue for this team, the Utah Hockey Club, this season. But some great news, these next two categories, the shots on goal per game and shots on goal against per game. Last year, there were a -4 shot differential on the season. This year, they were pretty much at +1. So that's a huge difference, a huge, improvement of the team, a different makeup of the team. You're no longer getting overpowered and outplayed and then just winning by the skin of your teeth. That's pretty unsustainable. This year was the first year where the tides were sort of changing, especially after Four Nations, where Utah in their games, they were kind of overpowering the other team and dictating the play. Sure, some games it was like 2 out of 3 periods, 1 out of 3 periods, but moving forward, you're going to start to see Utah be a team that dictates the play and puts their foot on the pedal, and the other team needs to react to Utah. Whereas in the past, this team has always been the reactor. They're always reacting to how the other team will play. Moving forward, Utah will be, here's how we're going to play this game, and the opponent's going to have to adjust to our game. The season didn't start where the shots on goal for was over the shots on goal against. It started where the shots on goal against were higher than shots on goal like last season. And throughout this season, you saw the numbers get closer and closer until it was about game 60 where it kind of and finally flipped over where their shots on goal for eclipsed their shots on goal against. I love that stat, and I can't wait to see moving forward how that stat gets even better moving forward. Face-offs, finally a great face-off team. Andre Tournier has never had a good face-off team, and finally they're over 50%, and they're ninth in the league in face-off percentage at 51.7. That's what, it's a 5.5% adjustment improvement from last season. The face-off leaders, Kevin Stenlin at 59%, Hayden at 54%, and McBain at 50%. The other centerman, obviously, Logan Cooley at 45%. So that's an area where he needs to improve if he wants to stay at that number one center job. He's getting all the points, he's executing, he's producing, but we need him to win some faceoffs. And so it's great that we have, players on the team who can teach him how to be better at faceoffs. They have that new assistant coach they hired a couple seasons ago, Blaine Forsyth, who does power play and faceoffs, and coincidentally both those numbers are like the best stats on the team. So I'm sure Forsyth could give Cooley some tips in the offseason to work on faceoffs. Hits per game, it is low compared to last season and even this season. This to me tells me, they're holding on to the puck more, they're possessing the puck. All their possession analytics are through the roof compared to last season. So they're pretty much not hitting as much. But in terms of just the league, they're 28th in the league in hits per game. And Bill Armstrong has come out and said he wants the team to be bigger up front, be a bit meaner, be a hard team to play against. So I think they might sort of make some moves in the offseason to increase that hitting number, just be a bit more physical, harder to play against, while also maintaining that, high offensive tempo and great scoring ability that they have. And the fights on this season pretty much stayed the same at 29. Last year it was at 31. Their home record this season, 18, 15, and 8. Do we remember earlier in the season where they could barely win at the Delta Center? I feel like once a calendar year sort of flipped to 2025, they started to play way better at home, and they had a great streak to end the season at home on that 5-game homestand, games, 74 to 79 or so. They played amazing in all of those games. So they had to adjust to the pressure. The fans were so loud. Sure, maybe they had a bit of stage fright earlier in this season, but glad that they adjusted. And moving forward, they should be a great home team. Their away record was great. 20 wins away from home, 16 regulation losses, 5 overtime shootout losses. Their longest win streak on this season was 4. That's pretty low, but they also had 3 game win streaks as well. But their losing streaks, they had 2 5-game losing streaks and 1 4-game losing streak. So next season, you don't want those losing streaks to hit 5. It's great that it came down from 14 last season to 5 this season, but you can't have 2 5-game losing streaks. And if you do find yourself in a 5-game losing streak, you better hope you have a win streak that's longer than what they had, a 4-game win streak, and that needs to be higher as well. Some other sort of tidbits: overtime games. They were 6th in the league in the amount of overtime games the Utah Hockey Club was. They had 21 overtime games. They were 8-13 in overtime and 1 for 4 in the shootout. So definitely you could pick up some points there, move some of those losses to the win column. They only missed the playoffs, around 7 points. I know there's still teams playing for the last 2 games, but I'm pretty sure St. Louis and Minnesota are finished their season. So Utah misses by 7 points. But if you compare Utah to the Eastern Conference, they have the same amount of points, if not 2 points lower than the Eastern Conference cutoff. So if this team was in the East, they're a playoff team. So just the West, a little bit more competitive. St. Louis just went on a tear. What they win, like 10 games, 11, 12 games in a row to end the season in the month of March and April. So definitely a hard task to compare yourself to St. Louis, who really just took that last wild card spot by the reins and just ran with it. And then we're going to move to the players. Just one more stat. After the 4 nations, I said Utah was great. They were 14-8-4 on this season after 4 nations. If you stretch that to an 82-game pace, that is 44-25-12, which is good for 100 points on the season. So I know it's a small sample size, only 26 games, but when this team was healthy with Dursey and Marino in the lineup, they were a great team, a much better team than when those players were out of the lineup. And so, a 100-point pace team after 4 nations, that's pretty good for the Utah Hockey Club. And now we'll move to the players. How did the players do this season? For the first time, this team had 4 60-point players in Gunther, Schmaltz, Cooley, and Clayton Keller. So that's great. The Arizona Coyotes didn't ever have that amount of 60-point players. And Clayton Keller hit that 90-point mark in the last game of the season against St. Louis. I can't believe I'm seeing a player who could hit 90 points. The highest single-point season ever for the Coyotes was 86 points, and Keller had that record tied with Keith Tkachuk. So a great individual milestone for Clayton Keller to break his career high and hit that 90-point mark. And maybe he could hit 100. Like, I never thought I would watch one of my favorite teams have a player with 100 points on a season. But sure, there was some criticism for Keller the first year as captain. There's a little bit of a rough patch. I'm pretty sure the whole team had a rough patch. It was around that Detroit loss at home, the blowout loss to Tampa, and then the overtime loss to Florida. Like, I think he had 2 points around in 5 games played. I was a little bit hard on him there, but as a macro level, I thought he did great as a first year of being a captain in the NHL. And hopefully he improves and the whole team improves. And near the end of the stretch, he doesn't really let his foot off the gas. But can't say enough great things about Clayton Keller. He also hits 30 goals on this season. Pretty sure that's 3rd or 4th seasons in a row of him hitting 30 goals or more. Then we go to the young gun in Logan Cooley, 25 goals, 40 assists, 65 points in 75 games played. He increased his time on ice by more than 2 minutes per game. Last season, he only had 20 goals, and he had 21 more points this season in 7 less games played than last season. Unbelievable stuff by Cooley. He was getting better and better as the season went on. And when Tourney put together that Keller, Gunther, and Cooley line, I mean, they were just firing on all cylinders, and the production was off the charts. Then we go to Nick Schmaltz. For the first time in his career, he played 82 games, so that's great to see his durability. He's usually always injured. You could pencil him in for an injury every season he's been with the Coyotes, but for Utah, maybe that elevation in the state made him more healthier. But I thought this was one of Schmaltz's best seasons in his career. He's only been getting better under Andre Tourney, and his best years, like I said, have been under Andre Tourney. The way he back checks, his back checking pressure is just unbelievable. And even though he didn't score until game 24, he still manages to get 20 goals on this season. So hopefully next season he starts scoring a little bit earlier than game number 24. And then we go to the sharpshooter, the gunslinger, Dylan Gunther, who only played 70 games. He missed 12 games due to injury, but he still gets 60 points and still nearly misses the 30-goal mark at 27 goals on the season. Last year, he had 35 points in 45 games played. I thought that was an unsustainable pace. That's a .77 points per game percentage. This season, he ends it at a .86 points per game percentage. So imagine this guy playing a full season. He has yet to do that in his career, a full 82 game season. So hopefully next year we see him hit that 82 game mark. And then Mikhail Sergachev leading the defenseman with 53 points in 77 games played. He reached a career high in goals with 15. That's 5 more goals than his previous career high, which was 10 goals with the Tampa Bay Lightning. This was Sergachev's second best season in his whole career. So the fact that he's moving from, a highly powered elite team in Tampa, like the fact that he's had a second best year with Utah, just unbelievable stuff. He really took that number one defenseman job seriously, and he's a bona fide number one defenseman. I can't say enough great things. His time on ice this year was also one of his highest in his career, and this team heavily relied on Sergachev on the back end, and he was up to task. So now I'll go to the rest of the players. Cole Bagley had a great picture just to summarize all the career highs for these players in a very succinct picture here. The only player he's missing is McBain. He has McBain listed, but McBain also reached a career high in points. We'll get through them just really quickly. Keller, career high in assists and points. Cooley, career highs in goals, assists, and points. Gunther as well. Schmaltz, career high in assists and points. Sergachev, like I said, career high in goals. McBain, I already said, goals and points. Hayden, career highs. First time he's ever hit 20 goals. He has career highs in goals, assists, points. Kesselring, coming out of nowhere, career highs in all categories, goals, assists, and points. Stenlund as well. And Karel Vejmelka, which we'll get to the goaltenders now. 26 wins, a career high. His previous high was 18 wins and a career high in save percentage in .904 and goals against average .258. I updated those numbers, so this picture was a couple days outdated. So now we'll go to the goaltending, where Vejmelka took this team on his back. He started, 22 games in a row, which was the longest streak in about 10 seasons we've seen in the NHL. Unbelievable stuff. I thought he would be overloaded and he wouldn't be able to handle the workload, but he handled this workload with ease. It seemed like every game he just refreshed and played just that same calm game, didn't get rattled, didn't get frustrated. His confidence was high throughout. And moving forward, when this team makes the playoffs, Vejmelka is not going to be scared or have anxiety playing all these games in a row. If you want to win the cup, a goalie has to play about 25 games in a row. If you want to make the conference finals, it's about 18 to 20 games in a row. So Vejmelka's already done that. He could look at the tape. He built a routine off ice on how he handled himself preparing to play 22 games in a row. So he's done all that already. So now when they're in the playoffs, it shouldn't be such a daunting task for Karel Vejmelka. We also had Stauber and Villalta playing games here and there for the team. Stauber played 4 games. He went 2-1-1, and Villalta got his first NHL win in game 88. What was it? 80? Game 80, or was it 81? It was against Nashville. I know that, but he played 1 game, which was that win against Nashville, his only NHL win. And then for Connor Ingram, his mother passed in December. He took a leave of absence from the team. The team encouraged him to take the leave of absence. They helped him out in his hometown in Saskatchewan. He came back and then he played a game, the first game out of the 4 Nations. It was a pretty rough game for Ingram and the team. They lost. And then he entered himself in the player assistance program. So I'm not going to be too hard on Ingram. We pretty much didn't have a backup goaltender for the majority of the season. It was Vejmelka doing the whole workload. I understand it was a very difficult time for Ingram. So like I said, I'm not going to harp on him and be too hard on him. Moving forward, I hope Ingram got the help he needed. I hope he stays with the team. And I hope he's able to play consistently with the team. We'll learn more throughout the offseason, how he progressed in the player assistance program. I just hope he's with the team next year and he's back to his standards. If we have a team where Ingram plays like he did last season, and then we have Vejmelka playing like he did this season, you combine that, I mean, that's a tandem you love and will take you really far in the regular season and the playoffs. So that is best case scenario for me, where Ingram just gets back to last season's standards and Vejmelka maintains the standards he set this season. We'll go to month here. Maybe a little bit hard to see, but some great months near the end of the season. February, they went 6-3-0. March, 6-5-3. And April, the end of the season, 5-2-1. They slipped up a bit in January and November, going 5-6-2 and 5-6-3. Nothing too glaring or a problem, but you do not, if you want to be a playoff team, you shouldn't have months where you're below NHL 500. And then we go to the division, where this is their stats against their divisional rivals. Nothing jumping out of the page here. Against Nashville, they were a pretty bad team. You probably needed to win 2 or 3 out of those 3 games. It's unfortunate that Nashville was one of 2 teams, the Avalanche, where they only played them 3 times. Maybe if they played them 4 times and played 1 less game against Winnipeg, that's another win in the win column there. So I've saved the negativity for last in the video. So the the players who had downward trends this season compared to last season. I mentioned it a little bit earlier when I was talking about the goals for per game being lower than last season. The players who really dropped the ball offensively this year were Matias Maccelli, Nick Bjugstad, Lawson Krause, and Michael Carcone. Look at these last season numbers compared to this season's numbers. Like Maccelli had 17 goals, 40 assists, 57 points last season. This year, 8 goals, 10 assists, 18 points. So from 57 to 18 points. He was healthy scratch for pretty much the last 30 games of the season. Definitely Andre Tourigny put him in the doghouse. For me, I would assume it's because Maccelli didn't adapt to a defensive-minded game. I think Tourigny this season wanted the team to be a defensively minded first team, and then the goal scoring and offense comes after. I think that's how you do a rebuild. You have to work on your 200-foot game That's what he's doing with Cooley, Gunther, and Hayden. And now you see Keller and Schmaltz having great defensive games as well. Work on your defense first, and then we'll get to the goals later. And I think Michelli didn't really adapt to that. Moving on, Nick Bukestad, 22 goals. He was a 20-goal scorer last season. 23 assists, 45 points. This season, 8 goals, 11 assists, 19 points. So from 45 to 19, another big drop off. For Michael Carconi, he also was a 20-goal scorer last season. All these 20-goal scorers, they just didn't get it this season. He had 21 goals, 29 points. This season, 7 goals and 19 points. So 14 goals less than last season. And then the associate captain, Lawson Krause, also a 20-goal scorer last season. He had 23 goals, 19 assists for 42 points. This season, 12 goals, 6 assists, 18 points. So from 42 points to 18 points. We also saw some depth defensemen leave the team. Kolyachonok was lost to waivers. He was healthy scratched for pretty much half the season, if not more. And Valimaki, he lost his job to guys like Kesselring, DeSimone, and then Marino and Dursey getting healthy, pushed him out of the lineup, and he was sent down to the Tucson Roadrunners. So I think that's it for this season review. I'll have the Howl Awards as the next video, and then we got some other videos, the Tucson Roadrunners season review. I still don't know if they're in the playoffs yet or not. They got 2 games left, and then some other fun videos as well. Just going to go through my notes. I think I got everything here, but a great, unbelievable season. The community for Utah, I'm going to make a video on that later, but there's a lot in this video already. I just want to thank the Utah community, the fan base, the players, the coaching staff, the general management. Just a great season, one of the best seasons following this team in over a decade. They haven't had a season like this probably since 2010, 2011 for the team I cheer for. So it's only going to get better. I love all the improvements. Sure, it is disappointing that this team didn't make the playoffs, but the expectations were set since the offseason. The management, coaches, even ownership, they set the expectation that this season their job was to battle till the end of the season, to play meaningful games in March and April. Even Bill Armstrong said there will be some pain along the way. And boy, was there some pain with all those injuries. But all in all, I'm glad that the team met those expectations set, and they have a great future ahead of themselves. And the next evolution of this team is going to be really exciting to be a part of. So that's it for me. Thank you for watching. If you like what you see, spread the word. And as always, thank you for your support.